So, Alexander Metaban here with Heartful Dating. Our guest today is an amazing dating coach, Erik Lothbrok. He's been in the scene for 15 years. He's been teaching for over 10 years, and he's had his own company, Coast to Coast Dating Coach, for more than 6. Over the years, Erik has kind of kept a low profile despite his work with some of the biggest names out there, like the protagonist of this best-selling book, The Game, the host of the VH1 show, Mystery. And no matter what your social scale, my friends, you gotta buckle up because Erik will help you attract women, whether during daytime, nighttime, through social circle, or purely through cold approach pickup. So whether you're looking for a wife, girlfriend, or looking to date more casually and learn pickup, Erik will help you achieve those goals. He has built a component of respect, integrity, authenticity in all of his training, and he works with guys from a diverse range of backgrounds and skill sets. I personally really enjoyed my interview with Erik and hope you will too, while gaining valuable insights in the process. Over and out.
All right, it says it's recording, man, so feel free.
All right, so hello everybody. We got Erik here today with us. He's a dating and relationship coach, and he's been teaching men how to be attracted to women and how to attract women for almost more than a decade now. And he's been doing this around the world as he's traveling, and he's doing it across the board, like different countries, different time zones. He's also worked with some superstars, in the industry. People like Baxter and Mystery. You might have heard of his mentor and guide in Mystery, and his friend from the VH1 show or from the book The Game. And he's really dedicated to creating positive change in the lives of the men that he's teaching and guiding through this difficult terrain. But the key thing that differentiates him, for me, from other coaches, is that he brings this positive, ethical, and discourse of integrity to this field. And so, he has. I personally, I have been really wanting to interview him now, and I'm super excited. So thank you for joining me, Erik. Really appreciate it, man.
Thank you, man. Thanks for the intro.
And just to start off, Erik, the stereotype that we get from Hollywood, from the media about, like, dating coach, my mind goes to Hitch, the Will Smith movie, right? He's there's this specific sort of way that people might construe what a dating relationship coach is. Could you tell?
Just lost you there, man.
You can't hear me.
There we go. You're back.
Oh my God. It's so sorry. This is very frustrating.
No, it's all good. Let's see if it does it again. So you said that there's a certain way that Hollywood portrays a dating coach, like in the movie Hitch, and then
right.
And then you went silent on me.
Okay, so what I was trying to get at is that, given that that's the stereotype that we find, could you kind of clarify what is a dating relationship coach in reality versus Hollywood?
Yeah, so I think the movie Hitch does an okay job of presenting what a dating coach does. It's not quite. I always make that joke because a lot of people will say to me, "Oh, so you're like Hitch," and I'm like, first of all, Will Smith is way cooler than me. I can't compete with Will Smith over here. But yeah, I mean, I help guys in a variety of different ways attract the women that they want, or the woman singular that they want. I help guys that are trying to get back with an ex, or they're after one particular girl, although I can't guarantee them success, but occasionally I have guys contact me and say, there's this one particular girl that I'm after, where a lot of coaches will tell the guy, forget about her and let's meet other women. I actually will help the guy try to get the girl back, but we have to work on other things as well. And I'll only help the guy to a certain extent, right? At a certain point, you got to let the girl go. I help guys set up online dating profiles. I help guys meet women during the daytime, at nighttime, through their social circles. I help them become more confident and social in general. So yeah, it's a very rewarding job. It's a very fun job, but it's one that I take very seriously as well. So even though it's fun and there's,
Hmm.
there's a lot
Yeah,
of fun to it,
it
but it's
sounds
very
like a really fun
serious. Yeah.
experience.
What's that?
Sounds like a very fun experience, but at the same time, it must be challenging because it involves dealing with another person's human psychology, and not just that, but also honing it and taking it into a different direction, perhaps.
Yeah, it's definitely a grueling process. When I'm with the client, I am throwing my creativity at them, and my brain is constantly churning and trying to get inside their head. It's a very creative process. It's almost like writing custom music for somebody in the moment, in real time. It's very draining, but it's very rewarding. And it's challenging. Every guy is unique. Every guy has his own way of thinking. There are certain patterns that are similar amongst dudes, amongst men across the board. Certain patterns that I see, sticking points that are common, but every guy has his unique journey as well. So I've got to customize and calibrate my coaching to each guy, ideally.
Right. So it seems that over the years, having been helping men, you have found some patterns, but at the same time, you also found that there's always some nuances that are individual to each case, and you have to work with that, as well as your uh, helping that, like, as well as the patterns that are common.
Yeah, absolutely. My clients are so cool, man. Each one of them is super unique and cool and uh, interesting, and getting to know them and working with them, I learned so much. I mean, they learn a lot and I learn as well. They teach me as well.
Right. So that's actually really interesting point, because one of the things that I am interested in is like learning how to learn, and one of the techniques there that people talk about a lot is that if you want to learn something really well, teach it to people, right? And so, like, do you think that played a part at all in your own journey? Like from the point that you started teaching others, did that in any way accelerate your own learning curve in any way? Is
I definitely think it has. It definitely puts pressure on you to make sure you keep your skills sharp. That being said, I wanted to make sure that I was the real deal before I started coaching. So when I found all this stuff about 15 years ago, I didn't just jump into coaching right away. I saw a lot of coaches giving advice that I could tell were probably not very experienced. It's not to say that they didn't have good intentions in mind, and they didn't maybe eventually get themselves up to speed, but I didn't want to be another coach that just read the game or watched the VH1 show, and then 6 months later he's on a stage talking about how he's a master of dating and pickup or something. I didn't want to be that. So I spent a good 4 or 5 years really honing my skills, making sure I knew what I was talking about before I started coaching. And I have a bunch of experience even before that, but particularly when I found this field and I was like, wow, like I want to be a coach. Like I could do this.
right.
I spent a long time really working on this before I started coaching. But yeah, once I started coaching, it definitely can accelerate your learning as well. You've got to be the
Right.
real deal. If guys are paying you their hard-earned money, you know.
Right. So it seems that you were dedicated enough to the craft to spend enough time learning it yourself before pretending that you know more than you did. And so, there's also this idea
I
in
still
psychology,
do. I still do, by the way. Uh,
right?
yeah, I work incredibly hard at this. It's what I do. It's what I'm into. I'm always in that headspace. Even after coaching for uh, what I had been coaching professionally for about 6 or 7 years. And then I reached out to Mystery and Baxter, and I've been coaching with them for the last 4 years. As you said in the introduction, um, So even after all this time, I'm still trying to get with the best dudes out there and learn from them and constantly sharpen my skills, you know?
Right. So it seems like a big part of your journey is that you always want to stay sharp in your skill set and keep improving by, putting yourself in uh, situations where you're learning from the best or you're working with the best, and so that you can bring that kind of like knowledge and experience to your own students.
Absolutely. I always try to keep the mindset of the student. I'm always a student before I'm a teacher. Some of these guys like to call themselves masters. I do not consider myself a master. I consider myself a student of life. And I will always be in that mindset of focusing on what I don't know and focusing
Right.
on the mystery and focusing on the mountain of experience that there is out there to
Right.
gain.
That's actually a great attitude, but I wonder, like, when somebody's looking at you from the outside, they must, because it almost like to the uninitiated, it can look like a complete magic trick. A man just shows up, scoops the lady, and boom, he's gone. It looks certainly like very intriguing and unbelievable to some extent.
Yeah, it just depends, honestly, like a good interaction with a woman doesn't really look that exciting or that entertaining, right? It looks very natural because it is, right? That's the goal. The goal is not to put on some shtick, and some performance. The goal is for this to be real and to internalize these behaviors and these mindsets and everything. But so it oftentimes doesn't look very glamorous. That being said, for boot camps, especially when I'm coaching with Mystery and Baxter, and we've got a demo and we've got to put on a show and a performance, then I will amp it up a little bit, And yes, there are times where everything just comes together very seamlessly. And to somebody from the outside looking in, you definitely get some guys that are like, how did that happen? And it's
Right.
a combination of having the gumption and having the balls to go for it and just doing it many, many times over the years and focusing on this. This is what I'm into. So I try to be humble and keep that mindset that I'm always a student, I'm always learning. But if I'm being a little bit more objective and real, I mean, when I really want to turn it on, I can turn it on. I put the work in for sure.
Yeah, and turn her on too. You know, um, yeah, actually, no, in our last conversation, you had mentioned that one of the biggest teachers was for you was actually women. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, absolutely. Women are the greatest teachers. Experience is the greatest teacher. So, uh, there's some guys that say in the scene, in the in this scene, right? This dating and men's improvement and pickup scene, whatever we want to call it. Some people that say you can't learn anything from women, right? That women aren't going to teach you anything. I mean, I talk to ex-girlfriends and girlfriends of mine all the time and ask them questions about uh, attraction and about this and that, or some situation that I'm in. So I learn from them directly by asking them and talking to them, but then also just from my experiences with them, putting myself out there, going on dates, having girlfriends, approaching, putting myself out there. The
hmm
feedback that you get is so valuable. So
right. So, do you think that after all these years of going down this path, has it been the case that at some point your self-awareness of like the process of like the observing eye, your ego looking down at it in itself, has it dimmed at all? Like, do you have to intentionally become more self-observant, or like after you I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, once somebody's been doing something for a long time, their sense of uh, self-awareness can sort of like decrease because it becomes too much of a habitual thing. So does that happen? And if it doesn't happen, what steps do you take, like, in terms of like keeping yourself self-aware so that you can continue to learn?
mm, yeah, that's a very good question. I definitely think that there is a certain point where you reach where you're like, you've got this sort of handled. Like, I believe that the process of understanding women is lifelong, right? Like some guys think it's
Right.
over when you find the girl that's meant to you, or you're getting married, or you reach a certain level of proficiency that it's over. And
Right.
one of the best pieces of advice that I ever heard from this guy that was married for 60 something years or something was, he said, I court my wife every day. I never feel like I've arrived. You know, I'm always trying to be a solid dude for her and expand
Right.
myself for her, and, you know, flirt with her and charm her, you know. So
Right.
it doesn't end once you get the girl. It's, you've got to always be putting in the work and put in effort to make sure that the person you're with feels loved, or uh, whatever. So, but yes, there are times where, that's a tough question. That's an interesting question. You know, BJ Penn, Ultimate Fighter, they say that it's really hard to get him to work because he was so good at fighting naturally, right? Like he was one of
Okay.
the best Ultimate Fighters, but he wouldn't train very hard for fights. He would just kind of party and screw off, and then he would train a little bit. He'd just show up in the octagon and like beat people up, you know. But they say that that was something that held him back. He could have been even better than he was. So I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if that answered your question or not. But as
No.
far as, did that answer your question?
Yeah, well, we can come back to it. Actually, you opened another interesting portal there with respect to, because in terms of your title, you are a dating and relationship coach, right? Dating and relationship coach?
Yeah. I mean, dating coach. My company is Coast to Coast Dating Coach. Ding. And then I guess some people know me as a pickup artist. I hate that term. Venusian artist was supposed to be the term, actually. So for the show for MTV, they thought that Venusian artists wouldn't hook enough people, and the show was designed for women. So pickup artists just had a little more shock value, and they thought it would have a better ring to it. So we can thank women and VH1 for the term pickup artists that we're stuck with. But, you know, when I coach with Mystery and Baxter, you know, we identify ourselves as pickup artists or Venusian artists, right? Um, and then dating coach, you know, I'm a dating coach before I'm a pickup artist. And then you could say relationship coach. I definitely work with guys that are struggling with their girlfriends and they're trying to keep their relationship alive, but I'm not like a relationship counselor. I haven't sat like a boyfriend, girlfriend down and like counseled them type thing. Right. So
Right, right.
I'm not a
No,
certified
I
counselor
was
or
thinking more
therapist.
along the lines, like you said, you had a friend who had been married for 60 years, and he had this amazing advice that he courts his own wife every day, and it seems that, like, what I was going with that was that the fact that a lot of the times, that is a whole challenge of its own, because in that kind of a scenario you can get easily um, you know, sort of become complacent, or, just start taking the other person for granted kind of thing, right? So I guess maybe that's what you were identifying with that, that sometimes, you need to you can't lose your sense of self-awareness even after you have gotten into a certain relationship of your choice and liking.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, right? So life is not a perfect operation, right?
Yeah.
We make mistakes, and we have setbacks, and we have highs and lows. And if you meet a solid woman, you know, she's going to want you to take breaks in life, right? Like she doesn't expect you to just be on all the time, right? And she knows you're going to have highs and lows, and a solid woman is going to be there with you through those highs and lows. So the idea, though, is if possible and whenever possible, we should always be improving ourselves. We should always be trying to be a little bit smarter, a little wiser, taking care of ourselves health-wise, expanding to our fullest potential so that our woman feels like she's with a guy that's not stagnant,
Mm-hmm. So how important do you think that concept that you just mentioned is in terms of attracting and retaining a partner? Like, do you teach this specifically to your students to work on themselves in terms of like improving themselves every day?
Yeah, I do. I definitely do. And again, I try to adjust my coaching to each client. Some clients just aren't super motivated. They're content just kind of working a regular job and having a regular life and everything. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There are a lot of coaches out there that are like, you've got to be this go-getter. You've got to be this super aggressive, go-getter type person, right? And for me, I think that a lot of the women that I date can sense that about me, that I am a little bit aggressive and competitive, and I'm always trying to expand myself. I said plural, right? Like there are more than one of me. Expand myself.
There probably are more than one of you.
But, but a lot of the girls that I date actually, they recognize that as maybe even something that's not perfect about me, right? Like there are times where my girlfriend has to close my laptop and be like, all right, you're not working anymore. Like, that's it. Like, chill out, relax with me. So it depends on the guy's personality, but I would say in general, yes, women are attracted to a dude that's going for it, that's improving himself and that's trying to live life to the fullest. That means taking a break too and stopping to smell the roses. But in general, they are attracted to guys that are competitive and that work hard,
Okay.
as opposed to guys that are just, laid back and let whatever unfolds,
Laid back. Yeah. No, I get it. So there has to be a balance. But Erik, on the opposite end of the spectrum, you had mentioned that there are people that have their lifestyle figured out that come to you that seem to be completely have their shit together, right? But they're specifically lacking in this field, in this area where you can help them with. So what's usually going on in those cases?
Yeah, that's the whole lifestyle game balance, right? I call that the lifestyle trap. So there's a lot of great advice about building an attractive lifestyle. And I definitely work on guys' lifestyles, right? Your education and work, your health, your social life, your passions, your hobbies, right? But many people, it's kind of a cliche dating advice in our society that like, if you just build an awesome life and focus on your own happiness and focus on your own path, that magically the right person will just appear, right? Or girls will gravitate to you, right? And there is some truth to that. I mean, if you get your lifestyle on lockdown properly and you have some good momentum, especially if you incorporate social life into that, there are women that will gravitate to you, right? But if you don't have the skills and the ability to flirt and talk to them and pull them into your attractive lifestyle, then you're never going to get them. And then you have the opposite guys, right? You have the guys that just focus on game and they're really smooth talkers and they can flirt and they can do all these things, but they don't have anything going on for them in their life. So there's a good lifestyle game balance.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'm smiling and laughing because I'm thinking of National Geographic shows and Discovery Channel and those like birds, and they build these beautiful nests and they're all colorful and they're just peacocking themselves. But and then they also
bird dance. And then they do
the bird dance.
Their colorful dance to attract the mate.
Yeah, exactly. But then to connect it to what you're saying is that after they build the nest, they also go and sing or do some other way to get her attention. They don't just build a nest and then just hope that somehow it's just going to happen, right? They still do the singing, and even then, unfortunately, they don't always, it doesn't really work out, So that takes us to the other big aspect of this whole thing, rejection, and that's well, like, I mean, it's a huge topic, but where should we tackle that from?
Yeah, there's a lot that can be talked about there. I think that rejection is a necessary part of the process. I think that you need to just take it. You need to just take it on the chin and learn from it. So many guys try to reframe rejection, there's no such thing as rejection. It's only feedback, or I only learn if a girl has good taste, I never get rejected or whatever. All these different reframes that guys try to do to make themselves feel better about getting rejected. How about you just go after the girls that you want, and when you get rejected, just take the rejection and learn from it, right? It stings in the moment. Sometimes it happens right off the open, right? You just open a girl, you try to talk to her, she shuts you down right away, and it's like, it kind of hurts a little bit, and
yeah, it's like your game character got killed right in the stage one,
Exactly. Yeah. You're embarrassed, and, rather than trying to numb yourself to that or reframe it or brush it off, take it, take that, and feel it fully. Don't dwell on it, but feel it, take the feedback of the rejection, and then move forward.
Right.
Whether it happens off the open or whether it happens 2 years into the relationship, don't don't reframe it. Like, you know,
That's actually
okay to
very interesting
lose.
advice, because this advice is actually counter to what, like you said, most of the people out there are giving guys right now, right? They're
Because most of these guys are real egotistical, you know. They're so proud of themselves that, like, you know, I don't know. All the best guys that I know just own up to it. Yeah, we get rejected sometimes, you know. Oh, you can't hear me? I went mute.
uh
Am I back?
yes, I lost you there for like 30 seconds.
Okay. The best guys that I know get rejected. We get rejected. We go for it. We go after the women that are attractive. We don't cherry pick our approaches. Sometimes it's a very difficult situation. Sometimes a very attractive girl in a high pressure social situation. She's got surrounded by friends and everything, and we're going after her, and you know, rejection happens, and that's how you learn. You know, so
Right. Yeah, that's just even thinking of that scenario just increased my heartbeat a little bit.
yeah, mine too, man. That's good though. That's good, because the guys that don't get nervous, Mystery said this one time a long time ago. The guys that don't get nervous, the guys who don't get any blood pressure rise, you know, or adrenaline, it's because they don't plan on taking action. Yeah, you're not afraid of women. You're not afraid of rejection because you don't take action. You know?
Right. The heartbeat and the nervousness is your body preparing you for the action.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, your approach anxiety, your nervousness, your fear, it's not telling you not to take action. It's just telling you to be vigilant as you take action, right? It's telling you to go in there and be aware, you know?
Be aware, yeah. So in terms of okay, so just staying on this topic a little longer, lingering here for a bit. You said just take it, right? But if you were going with the video game analogy, do you have like a certain amount of lives per day, like a certain amount of rejections that a guy can take before it's healthy that his dating coach advises him to go home and take a little nap or redo some math and go back to the drawing table, or you know?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. It depends on a guy's stamina. So there are some guys that take there are some guys that have horrible crippling approach anxiety, okay, that I've worked with. And every single approach that they do is like I'm laughing, but it's true. Like every single approach of theirs is just a crazy adrenaline rush, you know? And it's literally like from the time I start working with them until the time we go home, they are literally just running on pure adrenaline the whole time. I'm sure as soon as they get home and their head hits the pillow, they sleep like they've never slept before, you know? Um,
Right.
so it
Wow.
really just depends on a guy's experience level, how bad his social anxiety is, how bad his fear levels are. And yet there comes a certain point where you have to go back to the drawing board, right? So I worked with a client one time who had worked with a coach before me, and he had gone through a ridiculous number of rejections and he had no results to show for. I mean, he literally did something like 2,000 approaches and got 0 phone numbers on 2,000 approaches. All right. He set up some online profiles and he had sent over like 1,000 messages online out there and gotten 0 responses back. Right. So there definitely comes a certain point where a guy has to look at the feedback that he's getting and be like, something's not right here, you know? But he just had
Doing the
incredible
same thing
stamina.
over and over and expecting different results, right? That's just madness right there. So you're suggesting that, yeah, it's important to go out there and march into the to the belly of the beast, but like at the same time you got to get feedback on your fighting style. And again, I don't want to use these fighting analogies, but I don't know why I'm using them.
Well, he was a hard case though. He was definitely a hard case. Most guys are not that extreme, but he had nowhere to go but up, you know. And this coach told him, like, dude, you just got to keep approaching, right? So when I met him, he had a polo shirt on that was just like all stretched out in the collar and all disheveled. His haircut was just not right for him. His teeth were all jacked up. You know, we needed to make so many changes, and the coach that worked with him just didn't know what he was doing. He was very inexperienced and young, and but I give this guy so much credit because he just like, screw it, like I'm just going to listen to what this guy tells me to do, and he did literally over 2,000 approaches, just getting shot down for months straight, and
right, yeah, that could be yeah, that could be potentially be unhealthy, but it could be, I guess it could be a good thing too, but I don't know.
it can absolutely be unhealthy. That's definitely something I work with guys on. I want them to have realistic expectations. I want them to have a realistic understanding of how this goes down. You've got to find a way to make this sustainable. Some guys can jump into this and just go all in, right? And just, go out 4, 5, 6 nights a week. They can deal with rejection, no problem. They love it. It's exhilarating. They're getting results. They're getting traction. And some guys, they're just not going to be that extreme about it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, imagine a fitness instructor even, right? Like not every guy that you train is going to become a fitness model, right? Not every client you train is going to get super shredded and eat a perfect diet and be in the gym 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. Like you gotta adjust your coaching to the guys that aren't necessarily going to take this stuff to the extreme, and that's okay. Not every guy has to do that. So
right. So I guess so you this kind of brings out the fact that you work in a personalized manner. Like your approach is very specific to the needs and goals of your client, and you give them realistic feedback on where they're going, and how far or how to go about going where they're going.
I try to be as personalized as possible. Sometimes I'm in a group coaching situation and I've got to give guys more of a generic, broad structure. And then I try to customize as much as possible, depending on the size of the group that I'm working with, right? If I'm giving a talk to over 100 dudes or something, then I've got to just give them what I think is most relevant, that most guys are going to take, the most guys are going to latch onto it, right? If I'm working with a smaller group of 3, 4 guys, I can be more custom. If I'm working just one-on-one with a guy, then I can really hone in on him alone, so.
Right. So I guess it depends on the situation. Okay. Well, this is so interesting because, this is a part of a life that is as important perhaps as eating and drinking and getting a job. And yet it's pretty neglected in the overall culture. There was a time where we had more the arranged marriage situations, right? Maybe a couple hundreds of years ago. And in some societies, we still have that. But given that this society, our like North American sort of Western European, perhaps industrialized countries, we don't see that a lot anymore, right? So our entire species is dependent on the boy meeting girl, and yet the
I lost you, man. Can't hear you and you're frozen.
I'll be the devil's advocate and throw it out there.
So for about the last 15 seconds, your screen froze and I couldn't hear you. It was about 15 seconds.
15 seconds. Okay, so yeah, my question is just that, there's this immature critique going around, and I'm just going to be the devil's advocate and throw it in there. And it's just that, guys shouldn't have to learn this stuff, and this stuff should just come naturally. And there's something wrong with you if you're learning this. Like, where is that? What is that? And why do people think that way? And what do you say to them? Or maybe you don't say anything.
That's a very complicated question, but I would say at the core of it, there is, it's something that guys are ridiculed for, right? Like if you're seeking advice on your dating life and you're getting a dating coach, or you're reading books about dating and understanding women better, it's like that's a source of ridicule for a lot of guys. You know what I mean? If you got caught in high school or something with a book like How to Be Better with Chicks or something like that, like you'd get made fun of, right? Like,
right,
get picked on for that. So especially for guys. You know, women have all sorts of resources. They've got magazines and they talk about relationships, right? This is something that women talk about freely and openly more so than men. So there's a big source of ridicule there. It's just guys use that to bully other guys, I think, is simply what it is, you know? Right. And then I think there's a certain number of people that just don't like the idea of people taking a proactive approach to learning this. They think that that sounds contrived and inauthentic, and it must be shady and manipulative, right? But it's like learning any other skill. You know, you can go learn martial arts and then run around and beat people up, or you can learn martial arts to defend yourself and to be healthier and to live a greater life and to protect the people that you love. So it's the same with the Venusian arts, right? You can learn this stuff and use it to manipulate, or you can learn this stuff and make it natural and use it to enhance your love life. So there's definitely some judgment around learning this, especially as a guy, right? Like, right. But there's nothing wrong with it.
And I think, Erik, one of the big things that's happened for men too is, you know, since the internet came and people could have that anonymity as males, right, and still go after the knowledge, that has probably what escalated this entire men's movement, because it was definitely, like you said, a huge, like a gap, right? Because women have their magazines, women have their TV shows, women have the other women just teaching them, right? But men are not wired like that. You know, we are competitive in nature, and we aren't always, you know, very nice to each other. You know, we have this ongoing, like in groups of men, you find very like, you know, challenging, you know, like we challenge each other and we fuck with each other, and, you know, and that's kind of natural because we're just checking if the other guy, you know, is he worth being my friend, right? But definitely sometimes that can lead to an extreme of people, like men bullying each other and stuff like that. But with the internet coming in, it seems that provided that, you know, I can have my anonymity. Nobody would know I'm reading this book about how to pick up whatever, right? Chicks and whatever. But at the same time, I can learn this stuff. Do you find that some of your clients have this concern around being anonymous and their identity becoming known, or, you know, that kind of stuff? Or even yourself, like, do you ever feel like worried, you know, like people would judge you that you are teaching men this stuff?
Yeah. So I definitely take anonymity very seriously. Confidentiality. I don't reveal anything. Guys can talk to me about anything, any insecurity they have, any struggle they're going through, and I'm a steel trap, right? Unless they reveal something like totally crazy off the wall to me, right? Like, you know, but yeah, I think that a lot of guys want this to be confidential. They don't want people knowing they've used a coach. Although I'm surprised, a lot of guys are not embarrassed by it and they're okay with that. You know what I mean? There was a woman that was going to do an article about me, and I had several clients offer to be in the article. She wanted to interview some of my students, and I was surprised at how many of my students were like, yeah, I don't care. She can interview me. I have no problem with that. But for the most part, guys do prefer the confidentiality. And I even encourage that. I said, look, you don't have to tell anybody that you're getting coaching. Just learn this stuff, incorporate it into your life. Nobody's going to know that you're studying this and learning this unless you're overtly using some of the terminology, you know, but otherwise you just look like you're going through a phase and a change. Most people won't even notice that you're changing. And those that do won't care. They'll be proud of you and happy for you. And as far as me, yeah, I definitely, man, so for the longest time, for the first like 5 or 6 years that I was coaching, I kept this 100% on lockdown. I didn't want anybody to know that I was coaching. I especially didn't want anybody to know my affiliation with the pickup artist scene, right? Because the pickup artist community has a horrible reputation, and rightfully so. There are a lot of great guys in the pickup artist community, but there are also a lot of fucking scummy dudes in that scene, right? So I was super secretive about this. And then about 5 or 6 years ago, my girlfriend at the time just encouraged me to just be kind of out with it, you know? And I'll never forget, like, just kind of announcing to all of my friends on Facebook, all my family members, people that I used to work with, like everybody I went to high school with, everybody that I've known in my life pretty much, told them, hey, you know, I'm a dating coach and I'm kind of a pickup artist, you know, although I hate the term pickup artist, Venusian artist, you know, but this is my story and this is how I've been involved in the scene. You know, I got into this when I was 22 years old and I was going through a really bad breakup. And I jumped on the internet to try to figure out, how do I get my girlfriend back? And that's when I got exposed to all this advice for guys on dating. Some of it was on relationships and dating. Some of it was on just psychology and self-improvement. Some of it was geared more towards sex, like the pickup stuff, and a 22-year-old brokenhearted man, I just devoured everything I could. But she really encouraged me to just come out with it. She's like, look, you place a really strong emphasis on integrity and respect, and I have faith in you. And you should just, you should stop living in the shadows just because people are going to judge you, and because there's a negative stigma attached to this and whatever. Like, you need to go after this if this is what you want to do. So yeah, I mean, for the last 4 years, I've been coaching with Mystery and Baxter. I've had my own business for 6 years. Started coaching professionally about 10 years ago, but I found this stuff like 15 years ago. So it's just been a huge part of my life. And so yeah, that was a very long way of saying yes. Anonymity matters, and I have definitely experienced it. I still, to this day, sometimes I get nervous and anxious about it. Like, sometimes I just want to disappear from this and just live a more normal life. Not that I'm a super well-known coach or anything, but at a certain point, it's I've been avoiding the spotlight to a certain degree. Even Mystery has told me, like, the spotlight is right there. All you have to do is step into it. It's not like, like I'm searching for, how do I blow up my image? I've actually been proactively trying to keep my image more low key while still coaching with Mystery and Baxter, these huge names in the scene. And at a certain point, you just have to own it. You just have to own who you are. But I think for the average dude, it's still kind of safe to be a little bit more discreet.
Right. Well, actually, love about this story is that actually there was a woman, that pushed you into it. That's behind every successful dating coach is a woman. Now we know. But maybe in behind him too, but in front of him too. I don't know, and on his sides as well. I don't know.
No, yeah, she, I met her when I was 20. We broke up when I was 22. She's still to this day one of the greatest girls I ever dated. She was so mature at the time, and I was so immature back then. I'm still kind of immature in my own ways, but I was especially immature back then, and she was very mature for her age, very intelligent, whatever. And she stuck it out with me for a long time. And when she finally broke up with me, it was definitely time, and looking back on it now, it's like, she probably should have left me even sooner. But it was a great learning experience. It's not that I treated her bad, right? I wasn't bad to her. I just...
Right. No, I understand, man. I totally get it. I personally want to also give trophies to some women in my past, if if I can find them where they are right now.
The broken hearts, man, you learn the most from that, right? That's I need to feel a little heartachy, a little pang in my heart when I start dating a girl. I like that little bit of emotional something.
Right.
If I don't feel anything and it's just very, very neutral, I don't know.
Right. Yeah, no, I guess it depends, with some of them, like, like sometimes you have such crazy things. You're like, okay, I'll go for neutral for a little while.
So I haven't had too many horrible relationships. I really haven't. I mean, I've had some relationships that were a little bit rocky. I've definitely dated a few girls that were like, they were like the dude in the relationship, right? Like, they were just like stone cold players, like stone cold heartbreakers,
Right.
And for some reason I could not resist them anyway. But I think for the most part, I've had a great experience with women. There's a lot of the narrative in the scene, right, is that women are these sadistic, Machiavellian, selfish creatures, right? And like, women are human, okay? So they have their dark side. I definitely recognize that. But I mean, I don't know what women these guys are dating, because the vast majority of the women that I've dated have been very awesome.
Right.
They're not perfect, but I don't know, like, maybe just I had a decent upbringing. Like, my mother and my aunts and my grandma and like the women that I was surrounded by growing up were just very sweet, or what it was. But I've done a decent job of not getting snagged up in super rocky relationships.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it could something to do with yourself, right? I was just going to say that because it's what you're putting out. Maybe that's what you're attracting. But hey, I don't want to go down that path. Like I'm not a like a full blown like believer in sort of new agey kind of stuff. But I definitely see that like and like sometimes you also learn with experience, right? You see certain red flags and you're like, okay, maybe this is right.
Yeah, I think I've done a good job of not letting women too close to me that I thought when I saw red flags in a girl, it doesn't mean I wouldn't date her a little bit, but the ones that I really let into my life that I really opened my heart up to,
Mhm.
they did not put up those red flags and they made me feel comfortable and at ease and they were great girls, great
Right.
relationships, so
Yeah, no, man, totally. I agree with that. Like, just gratitude. That's all I feel as well. But I was just going with that was that, even the red flags, like, it's it's that you learn a lot from the like I'm just basically going with what you said, right? With the broken heart, you learn a lot, and a lot. Like it's like it's a treasure trove. How could you be upset that you found a treasure? Yeah, it was horrible, parts of the adventure could have been horrible, but it was a treasure trove, right? I can't be upset that I found this big ass diamond at the end. And that diamond is just the self growth I'm talking about, right? I'm just a psychological thing.
yeah.
But at the same, having said that, I'm also not suggesting that people go out there and be masochistically seeking, but then some people psychologically are at a point that, they haven't gotten therapy for some of the things and they are seeking that kind of relationship too, right?
You can't help it sometimes, man. Listen, believe me, I'm no stranger to it. I just have done a decent job of being disciplined about it. I think this is going to sound cocky, but whatever. I think that I have maybe more options than the average dude. So when I experience a girl that has certain red flags that she's showing, it doesn't really matter if she's super hot or whatever. Like, I'm going to avoid. I'm going to be like, I'm going to find another girl that does not give me those red flags, right? Where some guys might just kind of go for whatever they have available. But sometimes there are certain red flags, and I'm just so into the girl anyway, I can't help it. I've definitely been in a few relationships where the girl just did not treat me well at all. And all
Mm-hmm.
my friends were like, "What are you doing? Why are you with this chick?" And I'm like, I don't know. I just like her. I just want her. Like, I don't
Yeah,
even
yeah.
care that
Well,
she
well,
doesn't
that right
treat
there,
me
right?
right.
You like her, you want her. That explains it.
Yeah. So attraction isn't a choice, right? The old adage that we use. So
Oh yeah, yeah. That reminds me. What's his name? David D'Angelo. Is he still around? Is he? If you're.
yeah, I think he teaches a bunch of like internet marketing and stuff now. I mean, I think he still does double your dating and he still does some of that, but largely now he's teaching like online marketing and stuff like on a massive scale.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of actually that we were speaking of this before. A lot of these guys, you know, maybe mystery is kind of like a big exception to this, but a lot of these guys that have been there for a long time, they switched over tracks. They changed. Even Adam Lyons, I know him well actually, and for years he had this huge dating thing, and then he still kind of does it, like you said, on the side. He's got the dating doctor, whatever, but he's moved on to marketing and teaching business, and kind of like people moving to this lifestyle kind of coach thing, right? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I've met Adam Lyons as well. And yeah, I mean, good for them. I think there's a lot of value in many different fields, right? Whether you're teaching someone to be more positive or successful or online marketing or sales or motivation or whatever it is, as long as you know what you're talking about. So I feel very qualified to teach guys this stuff. I think that I have enough sales experience under my belt that I could teach guys to sell as well.
Mm-hmm.
I've trained many dudes in sales
Mm-hmm.
in a variety of different industries. So I feel qualified to teach sales, and I
Do you
feel
think there's like some kind of connection there? That some kind of like transfer of skill set between these different fields that lends itself easily that people is there
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, in sales, you have a product and you have whatever company that stands behind the product, and then you have to effectively communicate the value of that product to interested buyers. So you yourself are a product, and your family and your friends and the people that support you, they're kind of like your company that backs you, that helped create you. And you're an ever evolving, changing product, and then you've got to attract buyers. You have to attract people that are
Must I
interested.
add, sir, I also provide service. I'm not just a product. I have a product, but I provide service too. No.
Nice.
No,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Actually, that's a great analogy. I love it. Okay, so going back to this idea you brought up earlier, you said you didn't want to be associated with this title of a pickup, right?
Yeah.
Um, how do you see like the difference in terms of like your teaching? Like a guy comes to you and he's like, you know, like where and when do you categorize somebody in that category versus just somebody looking and seeking help for their like dating life? Like how is that? Is there a boundary? Is there a clear line? Is it how are these things related?
Yeah. So I basically, when I do a consultation with a guy to see if he's a good candidate for my coaching, I find out what his goals are. Right. So some guys are looking for a relationship. They're not opposed to, meeting women for casual hookups in the process of finding a relationship, but the relationship is the ultimate goal. Some guys, it's the opposite. Some guys want to hook up with a bunch of women, and if they find a relationship along the way, then so be it. So as long as, a guy is upfront and clear with me about what his goals are, I have no problem teaching guys pick up and teaching guys to have more casual relationships or alternative relationships, whatever they want to do, as long as they're going to be honest about it, right? If a woman is looking for a relationship and you're just trying to hook up with her, I think that it's unethical to say and do whatever you have to just to hook up with her and then move on. You're wasting her time. She was upfront with you. So yeah, did that answer your question? So there's an ethical way of going about it.
But it comes down to your clients being honest with you and being honest with themselves and being honest with the woman.
Yeah, yeah. So you froze again. You there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Sorry, I am in Canada. So
no, it's all good, man. So every now and then the screen freezes, but as long as your audio is working.
Right. Well, I just made a bad joke. We did get a snow like 3 days ago again. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But the grass is finally starting to show up a little bit. So right now, given Erik, just a casual question with this whole COVID situation, what's going on? Like, how is this field in terms of your own experiences like different? Like, are you teaching men like online game? I don't know what's that called, but like, I don't know, texting or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So a lot of guys don't even know this about me, but I actually teach a lot of online game, a lot of online dating. I help guys set up profiles. I don't post much of this advice at all on Facebook. I don't have a huge social media presence to begin with, but a lot of my best advice actually, I don't throw out there for free. Call me selfish if you want to. Some guys just get out there and just give all their best advice and just throw it all out there. But I have a lot of online dating experience. I meet women all the time online. Right now I have a girlfriend, so I'm not meeting anyone right now. But yeah, I'm on a bunch of different apps. I meet women that way. I have very reliable methods of meeting people. And again, guys, work with me. I can help them set up a profile, get the right pictures, get the right content in their profile, and then how to send messages, go back and forth, get a woman onto a date, and so forth. That's definitely something that I do. And that's all really guys can do right now with this pandemic. You got to try to meet women online, and then you got to try to get them on a virtual date, on a video call or something. Or if you're going to meet up with her, you've got to meet somewhere public where you guys can go for a walk and you can stay somewhat distant. You go for a walk with a girl where you're 5-6 feet apart and chat and meet up.
Right. So you are still adapting to this situation.
Oh yeah. And surprisingly, I've actually had even a little bit of uptick of inquiries. I don't know if it's because people have more time on their hands. They're not working. They're at home now. But I've actually had a decent amount of new clients come in, and repeat clients as well. Guys that are working with me for, second and third times. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, man. So I just want to just a meta point here. Looking back at the conversation, it's a lot of good insights, just all over the path. But what intrigues me about your journey, what sort of, let's say, is a bit unique, is that you don't seem to be kind of doing this to gain some kind of personal, you don't want to necessarily, like you said earlier, you the limelight is there, you have friends that are big deal, but your focus seems to be specifically just helping men, right? So there is an attitude of I'm here to help you, right? Do you find men have when you're teaching them, for instance, you're bringing them out, right? Do you find there's a fine line where they have to realize that you're there as their support, but they're the ones that have to walk the line, right? How does that, I know that's kind of a convoluted question, but I guess what I'm trying to ask is how do you clarify to them that they're the ones who have to walk the path? You can't walk it for them, right? Because sometimes when we get a guru, a coach, a dating advice person, we can try to get I'm relying on him to do my.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. That's actually one of the hardest parts of my job, I would say, is when a guy is working with me and I'm there and I'm talking to him and I'm fueling his mind with all of my advice and my coaching, and I'm getting motivated. And, they say emotions are contagious, right? So I'm in a good state of mind and my emotions are transferring over to him and he's feeling confident and he gets some approaches under his belt and I'm winging him or whatever it is, and he gets some positive momentum rolling. That's all fine and dandy when I'm there boosting him up, right? But what about when I'm not there? What about when he has to go back to his home city and it's time for him to do this on his own, right? So I do my best to get a guy thinking independently and thinking proactively, right from the get-go. If you need to use me as a crutch, if you need to use me as a home base, I'm certainly here. I'll be oftentimes in there with the guy winging him, or sometimes if he goes and approaches a girl on his own, he's got me to come back to as a home base, so he doesn't feel as bad if he gets rejected. That really frees the guy's mind, when he knows he's got that support. But yeah, getting a guy to do this on his own, once the coaching is over, once the buzz is worn off, right? Because once I do a session with a guy, he's got a nice buzz of momentum. But will that wear off? So I teach a guy to kind of be his own dating coach, right? I want him to be able to motivate himself and follow through with this. You know what I mean?
That's actually, and I was, and by no means discounting the fact that, sometimes we do need our coach, our teacher to be there, right? Especially kind of when you're just starting to learn the bike, you have a tricycle, you have those wheels, but the wheels have to come off at some point, right? So so for that transition to happen, what does is this purely a mental shift in the person's mind, or is it also a tactical aspect to it, in terms of do you give them specific tactics? Oh, if you do this, that's fine. Or is it just a general strategy, just have a certain mindset? Or is it a combination?
Yeah, no, it's both, right? So I definitely try to work with a guy's mindset on this. And, if he feels himself running out of momentum, There are different mental exercises that I have him go through to make sure that he keeps his head in the game, reminders of why he's doing this, right? So there's certain ways to keep his head in the game, and then there's certain action steps that I want him to follow as well. He's got to make a plan, and he's got to be proactive about it. He's got to stick to it. It's no different than if you take like a self-defense seminar over a weekend. You're not going to become a martial arts master or an expert at shooting a gun or an expert at coding or whatever it is by just taking a little boot camp.
Right.
That's going to lay the foundation for you, and then you have to walk the path. You can't.
Right.
I can't give somebody these skills. I can show you how I've done it. I can show you how other clients of mine have done it, and then you have to replicate. You have to replicate it.
Right. Yeah. So like it's a lot of consistency and practice, and you have to replicate that, the things you learned from you, but you can't just, expect that, my teacher is in 3 weeks going to turn me into this, and yeah. So that, I guess that I'm asking that question specifically because, if somebody's listening to this and they want to approach you, but they want to get help from you, they should walk into this, or they could walk into this with this notion of Will Smith is going to change my life, right? Like, just like that guy from the movie, and he's just in his ears telling him, okay, say this, now say this, he's got a head, that's not going to happen. What's going to happen is that you're going to try to alter them perhaps in a more subtle way to kind of serve as a guide, as a reminder. But, they shouldn't come to you expecting you to just be do a mental operation, which probably you would do, but, it's that they have to then follow through with their commitments to you.
Yeah, this is where the individuality of each client comes in, because I definitely have clients that I've worked with that have massive breakthroughs in very short periods of time. Like, they're just ready to make these changes. They're ready to do whatever it takes. And they just come to me completely open-minded, and they allow me to get inside their head and shuffle this around and turn this dial and that and crank that lever, and boom, they're off. They're off to the races. They take the ball, they run with it, they do everything, and it just their game explodes. Some guys are going to be a little bit of a slower go. I love when I hear coaches talk about how every client that works with them just experiences the massive transformations, instantly. And, what takes some coaches months to get guys on the right path, they'll do it in a weekend type thing. It's like, it depends on the client. Every guy is different. Some guys take a really long time to improve. Some guys improve really fast, and most guys are somewhere in between. So my goal is to get a guy from point A to point B. And if he's taking a little bit longer, I don't discourage him. I'm going to work with wherever a guy's at. I'm going to set goals for him, but not so high that he can't attain them, not so low that he's not really making progress. So there's an art to it. There's a science and an art to it. And yeah. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I got you. So you're, again, it seems that your experience spoke through there, because a lot of people that are kind of promising that kind of thing, like you just mentioned, are just trying to sell a dream, and they can sell a dream to somebody who has no idea and then try to make money off them. But your answer rings pretty real to me, because having kind of had some experience, it just isn't that way. It's just, there's a grind to it, there's a process to it, and rejections hurt. And sometimes you think you got it all fucking figured out, and then reality, boom, right? It's just, you can relate to those moments where it's like, everything is fine, it's just perfect. All right, we're walking to her house, and then I don't know, mom calls, I'm sick and in the hospital, something insane, just something you never know, So you have to be open to and be willing to not let in a specific experience just fuck you up. You have to find a way to keep your head in the game.
Yeah, that can happen, man. I have definitely experienced times where everything was fine. I had like great momentum going. I'm dating a couple girls or, whatever. I've got good momentum going. And then I have a bad interaction for whatever reason, and it
Right.
just chops me down to size for whatever reason. It just
Right.
fucks with me. I don't know why it happens, because there are times where a rejection should really bother me, and for whatever reason it doesn't. I'm just totally okay with it, and
Right.
I'm not bothered. I'm moving forward. And then a rejection that should not matter at all, like it's just totally like, what was that? That was, you know what I mean? The one that I
Mm-hmm.
should let slide for whatever reason just drills its way into my mind and just sticks there, for like a week. And I'm like, I can still think back about some rejections that I have where I'm like, you
Oh,
know,
yeah, yeah. No, and people don't see that, right? People don't see the failures. They just see the success. They don't see the
oh,
process.
I've had
And
so
and man,
many
like,
failures. I still fail all the time. I still have so many moments where I try something new, or I say something, or I'm not really focused, and I rub somebody the wrong way, or I come off too sexual or not sexual enough, or I misread some signs, or a joke doesn't hit properly, or I make mistakes endlessly, you know?
right,
So,
right. And it then goes back to what you said earlier in the conversation. Life is not a perfect operation. It's just not. It's just not, right? And so is neither is this dating stuff, right? It's just not, right?
yeah. And the guys that can put that idea of perfection aside and get out there and take action and just stay positive through the clunkiness and through the awkwardness and through the shit storm, they're the ones that are going to be successful.
Shitstorm, yeah.
Sometimes it can feel like just a
That's
shit
awesome.
storm.
Hey man, I gotta ask you something that you said earlier. I want you to open that latch if you would like. Um, you said like I try to keep men's expectations realistic, right? To me, that sounds like a subtle point, but to me that sounds like something that having gone through a phase early on, when I was like so like unsure of what this is and what this is going to lead to. And so I'm sure this will resonate with some people. Like, how do you help people have a realistic sense of expectations? Like, for me, like one of the things is like experience. Another thing could be just watching you as a teacher. But what is this? Is this something you have thought about more intentionally, or because you said it earlier?
Yeah. I think that, my goal is to get a guy to see reality as clearly as possible. And that's kind of an audacious thing to say, because that assumes that I see reality very accurately, right? And
Mm,
we're all seeing reality filtered through our perception and our experiences, right? So, what I think is reality and what somebody else thinks might be different. But my goal, whether I'm successful at it or not, I really don't know, right? Blind spots cover their own tracks. But my goal is to be as objective about reality as I possibly can. I'm not one of these people that believes that you can just imagine whatever you want and all of a sudden you're going to manifest it, right? If you're a 45-year-old man and you don't have a lot of money and you don't take care of your health and you don't look all that great, like, you can't just visualize yourself surrounded by hot 22-year-old chicks and boom, you're going to manifest that into your
hey
life.
man,
Like,
I visualize that every day. That hasn't happened yet. I was just doing it earlier, a couple of hours ago.
nice. Nothing wrong with the act of visualization and the act of,
It
trying
was
to.
completely unintentional too. It was just being me, just sitting there and just like, oh yeah, right. Okay, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah. So you're saying that
Yeah,
people
I do believe in guys. I do teach guys to visualize success, but I do want them to be very shrewd and very discerning from fact and fantasy, right? The more that you can see the way that the world really works, and the
right,
more that you can bring in alignment the way the world works and the way that you see the world, right?
right, right.
The more success you're going to have. right? So we've got to bridge that gap between a guy's perception of the way the world is and the way he wishes the world is and the way the world actually is.
Right.
So I'm a big believer in just fleshing out any of that with guys. You know, I don't correct them on every little single detail. Maybe I do. Maybe I'm a little bit nitpicky sometimes with guys, but anytime I hear a guy say something and it doesn't sound realistic to me, I have to call him on at the stop. Say, wait a second, what'd you just say there? Like, let's talk about that, you know? So it's just a matter of getting to know the client and getting to know what they want and what their goals are and making sure that they're being real and realistic. Because I'm not selling a fantasy over here. I'm selling the real deal,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, it's the real deal. You're not just giving them more phantasmical ideas. You're trying to actually teach them to distinguish between reality and fact within the context of learning this stuff. Moving to taking an elevator further up. So this is maybe a slightly advanced. Maybe for you it's still beginner, but for me, when it comes to like two guys going out together, right? What's going on there in that dynamic? What do you recommend? Do you recommend people to go out with friends? You tell them to go by themselves to kind of build the confidence? Like how do you go about that?
Yeah, it depends on where a guy's at. I think going out solo is definitely a good learning experience. I go out solo all the time. I mean, ideally, I want to go out with a group of people. I want to be with guys and girls, right? That's the best case scenario. When you can go out with a group of people, now when you approach a girl, she's had the chance to observe you being social with other people. You're not just some random dude that popped up, right? She's observed you from afar, talking to other people, mingling. Now, when you approach her, if she's going to reject you, she's not just rejecting some random nobody. She's rejecting the guy that she's already seen talking to a lot of other people. So she's going to be more pleasant about it, or she's going to be more open to your approach because she's seen you with other people, right? Mystery would call this social proof, right?
Right. That's true.
Social proof and
They talk about social
pre-selection.
proof,
If she can see other women attracted to you, other women interested in you, that would be pre-selection. So going out in a group is the ideal way to do it. If you're going out with just a guy, just a wingman, you want to try to meet other people. You want to try to build a social circle. You want to try to network. Ideally, you want to meet other women, okay? That way it's not just you and your guy walking around with your drinks clutched to your chest, right? Like looking around, like where's the party at? Where are the hot chicks at, right? People pick up on that, whether consciously or subconsciously. So you got to go out, you got to get in set, you got to get social, you got to get talking to people. So you're no longer just out with you and your buddy. The goal is you go out with you and your buddy, and then very quickly you're no longer just out with you and your buddy. But going out solo is an excellent thing if you've got the balls to do it. I've had some of my greatest experiences going out solo because it's hard to find good wingmen. You know, finding a good wingman is difficult. I've got a lot of guy friends that are more from my quote unquote natural life, and they don't have like formal training. They've never read books or done any of this, right? So they're very socially calibrated and they know how to kind of vibe with people and get along. But a lot of those guys don't take action. They just want to go out. No, if something happens, it happens. And they just want to sip their beer or whatever. And I'm kind of the mindset, like, let's go talk to those girls over there. Let's be more proactive. So then you go out with guys that are more involved in the scene, right? That they're involved in the pickup scene, or they know a little bit about approaching women, but they're not necessarily always the savvy guys that know how to get along with people. So sometimes I like to just go out by myself and just be that weirdo, you know, and you meet other.
I love this weirdo. Listen, but one of the things that comes up in these kinds of situations is like, you know, and you feel free not to answer this because I think this might be more of a specific question, digging down into tactics, but.
No, ask it. Go ahead.
Like, okay. You know, there's, what's it called? You know, let's say you are out going out, and sometimes, you know, I don't know, I guess it depends on the situation, right? Because let's say you're going out to a club, that's a totally different atmosphere, because like sometimes everybody's dancing. So I'd like to hear your take on dancing. And then the other one is like when you go out to like places like like a lounge or a pub where people are sitting, where they might be sitting with a group, and if you're just standing, you're going to look weird. So you might, so how do you, like, I guess these are different scenarios, but like, do you have a general way of dealing with these, or do you have just specific ways you honed and then that you teach?
Yeah, so when I'm going out by myself, that's kind of my time to just be like doing things the way that I want to, right? So I don't have people scrutinizing me. I don't have people being like, why aren't you approaching right away? I can go out and I can get a drink and chill by myself for a minute and get settled in. I can observe my surroundings. I can take a look at who's around me. Sometimes I go out solo and I approach a lot. I get into approach mode. I'm approaching this person and that person. I'm getting really chatty and I'm very proactive. But oftentimes when I go out solo, it's a more laid back thing. I'm not going out necessarily on a mission. I don't have to perform for any students. I don't have to demo. I don't have to do any of that. So let me give you an example. So the first time that actually I ever went and met up with Baxter was in Finland, was in Helsinki, Finland. And I got there on like a Thursday night. We had boot camp that weekend. It was me, Baxter, and Mystery.
So this is your first time meeting Baxter?
This is my first time, yeah. So I've been an assistant.
So for people that don't know, Erik, could you just
Yeah. So Baxter of BaxterLifestyle.com, ding. He's been putting on these really awesome boot camps like all over the world. And he sets these up. He's a very well-connected guy. He knows a lot of people in these different countries. And he sets up the logistics of these boot camps. And we get guys from all over the world that fly in to train with him, and Mystery as well. Mystery from the VH1 show, Mystery from The Game, best-selling author, The Mystery, right? And his website, by the way, is askmystery.com. Ding. But yeah, I've been an assistant trainer for these guys now in multiple cities all across the world. So it's been an incredible experience. I met Mystery the first time in Canada back in 2016, and I've been all over the place with them now. Odessa, Barcelona, Helsinki, Lima, Toronto, Las Vegas.
A lot of European locations too.
Yeah. So Baxter lives in the UK, lives in London. Mystery is from
Toronto. Is the language barrier when you go out to places like this?
It depends on where we are. So some women speak really good English, depending on the country. So yeah, it can be a barrier. It can be. But in general, English is a very common language in these countries. But yeah, so I was in Finland. I was in Helsinki, and I got there on a Thursday night, and it was kind of rainy and cold, and I was tired, and we had boot camp coming up the next day. But I really just wanted to go out and kind of get in the right headspace, and I wanted to explore the city. And I went out. There weren't many people out. I went to this little tiny bar. There was one group of people in the corner, guys and girls. It was like 2 girls and 2 guys, maybe 3 guys and 2 girls. I don't remember. But, I sat there and hung out with the bartender for a minute, chatting. And then at some point I made my way into the corner and I started chatting up these people. And just a friendly conversation. There was nothing really there. I wasn't really getting any interest from the women in the group. And my goal wasn't just to go in there and try to steal the women, right? Like my goal was to go in there and meet people and socialize, right? So I ended up chatting with these people for about an hour, and they speak really good English. They're asking me about Chicago and getting to know my first Finnish friends, And then I went from that bar to another bar, and on the way there was a really cute girl walking, and I stopped her and I struck up a conversation with her. She ended up being really young. She didn't look quite that young, but she was 19. And, I was 32 at the time. So she was definitely a bit younger than me, but she went to a bar with me and we had a glass of wine and we hung out and chat a little bit. And so, she was really cool. She spoke really good English. She told me all about Helsinki and we talked about this and that. And then she had to go her separate ways. And, on my way back to my Airbnb, it was super late at this point. It was like 1:00 in the morning. Again, it was rainy. All the bars were pretty much dead. Like I just had a few interactions. And I'm all ready to go home. And all of a sudden, this one last street right before my street, I hear some chatter. Right? I hear a little bit
The
of
one last street, people.
yeah. So I'm like, all right, should I just go home? And I was like, no, you have to go. Like this is boot camp weekend. Like you're going to train with Baxter and Mystery. You got to be on point. Like you got to get some momentum going. So I went towards the chatter. And again, this bar is dead, right? There's like 10 people in the whole bar, and there's a group of 4 people and like one really attractive girl in that group. So yeah. So I go in there.
Great movie right there.
And I started chatting up the dude that was in the group, and eventually got kind of invited into their group. Oh, he's from Chicago. He just arrived. He's kind of wanting to get out and meet people, so they pull me into their group. And little by little, I'm flirting with the one that's attractive, the one that I'm into. She was a bit younger as well. She was 23, 24 years old, super cute girl. Spoke great English, very intelligent, educated, just wonderful girl. And, we hung out at this place from like 1 o'clock till 2 o'clock. Then we went to some other bar for like a couple hours. It was like some gay bar. I don't know why, because the guy that was with the group that we were with, he was gay. So we ended up going to this gay bar.
Yes. One down.
It was fun, man. We danced. You talked about dancing. We were actually dancing at this bar, right? I had to ward off a few gay dudes and be like, sorry, But then at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, maybe even later than that, I don't remember. It was super late, but everybody went home and left me and this girl together. And I watched the sunrise in Helsinki, and I got to make out with this girl and kiss her and smooch and stuff and get to know her. And it was like, I almost went home, man.
Wow.
Went home, and I decided, nope, I'm going to that last bar. Yeah. Oh, I lost audio real quick. Sobin. You there? Hello?
Hey, Erik, sorry, your voice went out there.
Yeah, you went out as well. So right when you gave me the thumbs up, you were about to comment on the last bar that I hit up, and then you
No, I just said, like, goes back to what you were talking about earlier, proactiveness, right? You were about to go home, but you're like, okay, like one last push, and you didn't know what would come out of it, and you were open to the experience, you were open to what can happen, and boom.
I can't tell you how many times I wanted to call it a night, and then I was like, nope, I'm staying out a little longer. I'm going to ride this a little bit further. And some of my best experiences have been the last interaction of the night. So you never know how it's going to unfold. And you are frozen again, my friend. Can you hear me?
Yeah, same, man. Yeah, same here. Yeah, I don't know.
Did the volume go out? Could you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Yeah, but your quality is like, it said the red bars are back. So.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Hey man, I want to keep talking to you. Like, I don't think we will. There's ever a reason to stop a conversation this interesting.
I got a few more minutes, man. If you want to keep going a little longer.
Okay. So, just you said you were dancing with at the bar, and then that's where the story kind of got cut off.
Oh, the story cut off right there.
Yeah. So you were dancing at the bar, you're having a great time, and then from there you just went to making out and stuff. But I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I kissed her for the first time at the bar, and then at some point, like, I had won over her friends. Her friends liked me. Her friends trusted me, so they left us. And me and her walked around the city of Helsinki, watched the sunrise, and I got to, make out with this really cute 23-year-old Finnish girl. My first night in Finland, when I was going to go home. It was the last approach of the night on a cold, rainy Thursday night in Finland. And
rainy Thursday, man. The cold, fucking rainy Thursday.
Yeah. So
there was something to brighten that cold, rainy fucking Thursday.
And you know what, man? It gave me momentum, and it made me feel really good. And I ended up meeting an even, I couldn't say even cooler girl, because didn't follow up with that girl. But I met a really amazing girl that weekend as well on boot camp.
Right.
So
Right. And so, see, like the thing that stands out for me is the fact that those early approaches that could have really thrown you off, the fact that there was a quiet bars and you weren't meeting people, and but those conversations were, what they call in the community that you're getting warmed up, you were just getting social, right? And that gave you the momentum to then, reach out and create a great experience.
yeah, you got to go all in, man. And when I'm with Mystery and Baxter, I think that's one of the biggest things that I have, like, meeting up with them and working with them. It's like, if you're not going to go all in when you're with Mystery from the VH1 show, the pickup artist, like, who the hell, you know what I mean? Like,
What are you doing?
yeah. So anytime I go all in with this, man, something good happens. It's when you've got one foot in and one foot out. You might snag a girl, you might have some cool experiences, but there's so much friction. Like, the best thing that you can do is just get yourself in the headspace of, I'm fucking doing this, And when you do that, you're going to get the best results. You're going to have the best odds of getting positive reactions. So.
Right. And so when you came back the next day, you guys got together and then just the boot camp started?
Yeah, we had boot camp, and so there's seminar, and then there's actual infield. It's exhausting, man. We teach 4, 5, 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours, depending on the boot camp. They're all a little bit different, but there's a huge portion of in-person seminar portion of coaching, right? Then we try to take a nap before we go out, because sometimes we don't go out, especially in Europe. They don't even start partying until 11 o'clock or midnight. So we try to get a nap in there, but oftentimes we're so wound up from boot camp and from coaching guys from the seminar portion, we're wound up and we can't even sleep. Then we're out until 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning sometimes. And then we only get 3 or 4 hours of sleep. We have to wake up and teach seminar again. So it's just like, you sleep wherever you can, whenever you can. We're jet lagged. It's exhausting, but it's also just so rewarding, because once you're in there and you're in the mix, the tiredness can go away and you kind of perk up and
Right. So you guys are working hard all week. That's awesome, man. That's amazing. I have a question with respect to a friend of mine. Okay, so he lives in Pakistan, and he goes back and forth between Norway, because that's where the headquarters are for his company, but he's in Pakistan as the capital, in Islamabad. And, he was talking to me about the fact that, he's currently looking for like a serious relationship and stuff like that. So if I'm sending people your way, what's the best way for them to find out about you, get in touch with you with this, with your friends when you go out on weekends like this around in Europe and stuff like that?
Yeah. So, if you want to take coaching directly with me, my website is coasttocoastdatingcoach.com. And you can just visit my website and go to my contact page. Yep. coasttocoastdatingcoach.com, and fill out the contact form and request a consultation. I will never share anybody's information for any reason. The consultation is 100% confidential. And I just, I do a very authentic process of getting to know somebody. No pushy sales tactics, no hard selling tactics. Get to know somebody, get to know what their goals are. And if I think I can help them, then I'll recommend some sort of coaching, and if I think they're a good candidate for doing a boot camp with me and Mystery and Baxter and doing one of our adventures, then, there are options there as well. So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
those guys are the cold approach masters,
Oh yeah. Awesome. Okay, dude. One last question I have from this friend of mine. He's an Indian friend.
Yeah.
I asked him if he had any questions for you, and he said, I'm just going to the messages. All right. So, you okay with this? Me throwing this in?
Yeah, man. Throw whatever you want. My man.
All right, dude. Super. I appreciate that. So, okay. So his question is, I'm just looking. Uh, okay. Okay. It was to the effect that I can't seem to find it exactly, but
No worries.
it was to the effect that something about your mindset. So when you approach people, anyways, yeah, it was something to the mindset. It was he was asking like, what's your mindset when you're approaching, like, to like you just mentioned some examples in was that Helsinki or something?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you were approaching, what was your mindset? What was going in your mind? Were you saying, okay, I have to get laid, or was it like, okay, I just want to see what happens, or like what were the thoughts? I guess you wanted to know cognitively what was the landscape like prior to the approach in your mind.
Yeah. So this is going to sound a little bit abstract, but again, you have to remember I was out solo. So there's nobody watching me. There's nobody judging me. There's no other guys from the pickup scene, scrutinizing me. I don't have to perform. I don't have to demo for students. I don't have to put on any facade. This is my time to do what I love to do, which is interact with other people, right? And expand myself, right? So this is going to sound abstract, but when I'm out by myself, I'm not really thinking about a lot. I'm not really, in any sort of state of mind. I don't really have much of an objective other than to kind of follow this guiding light that's just kind of in front of me that says, go this way, go that way. So typically, to give you a more concrete answer though, right? Because that's just me going out after internalizing a lot of behaviors and just
Right,
knowing.
and it's been years and years, more than a decade of experience, and it's kind of almost like you've honed your intuition.
Yeah, it's like somebody, I guess, who's been playing music for a long time, getting up on, jamming with a band. It's like what's going through their head. Oftentimes they're not really thinking about anything. They're just feeling the music. They're feeling the energy of the other musicians that they're playing with, and they're just freestyling and riffing, right? So it's a similar thing for me. It's very intuitive feeling. It's more about the present moment. But typically when I go out, my first goal is to enjoy myself. Okay. I want to create a positive bubble of emotions, and I want to let nobody infect that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So number one is I want to actually feel positive emotions flowing through me and defend those positive emotions as much as possible from any negativity. Number two, I want to meet people and network with people just in general, guys and girls, right? It's not just about meeting women. I want to meet everybody. Number three is to meet women that I'm actually attracted to and that I think there might be some potential with for a relationship or for dating or something like that. And then number four, last on the list, is finding somebody maybe to hook up with that night. Okay, so what's funny is when you have your mind screwed on properly that way, number one, I'm there to have a good time and feel good. Number two, I'm there to just be social and meet people and interact with other people, right? Number three, I'm looking for sincere connections with women that I have like really good chemistry with, that I vibe with on a personality level. When I stack all of those things in that order, random hookups and adventures and stuff like that seem to just come my way. I don't really have to be proactively going after women trying to hook up with them super aggressively, right?
Right.
Don't get me wrong, that there's nothing wrong with doing that. I think the guys that want to go out specifically with the intention of finding that,
Right.
you can do that and you can hone that skill. But I just found that doing it this way is much more enjoyable. It's more sustainable for me. It takes a little bit of the pressure off me. And again, this is when I'm doing it for me. If I'm coaching with guys, especially if I'm on boot camp, especially if I'm with Mystery and Baxter, which is very demo heavy, then I'm going to step up. I'm going to rise to the occasion. And I'm going to perform. But
Man, that was a fucking amazing answer, man. Because it was so balanced and it was realistic and it was, like pragmatic. It was like it was very, very, very pragmatic. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. That was awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was.
Oh, you froze, man. Hello? Hello, hello. You back?
Hey, sorry, I missed out there.
It's all good. I did hear you say that you appreciated that answer and it was very pragmatic, and then you froze and I
Oh
could not
yeah, I
hear
was
you.
just saying I appreciate it because in my experience I've been hurt myself and I've seen other people get hurt by having a very strong obsessed attachment to outcome. Like I want this one. Like
Yeah, yeah.
that's I understand what you said it's fine, but it can also sometimes not be fine, right? Because those people can become jaded because like they have an agenda, like they're going there just for like some that one, right? Like, and everybody else is just sheep to me. Like I don't care about the world and the people, and people can read that sort of like off you, right? Like it just comes off as inauthentic, right? And nothing. And I'm not saying that you have to be the saint who's never meeting, but you can sin in style, sir. Like there's, and you can do it in a more sustainable way. Like I love that. That's good.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. And there's something to be said about the opposite approach as well, about being very specific in what you're looking for and what you're doing. I have definitely gone out with many different goals and intentions and whatever. But I've definitely never just looked at people as just like pawns in some game. To me, I don't really like the idea of practicing on. I mean, we use the practice analogy sometimes to kind of take pressure off guys, but really it's real life. So I want to approach girls that I'm really attracted to, that I'm authentically into. I don't view it as practice. Like this is the real deal. This is real life. I remember one time I went out with a bunch of guys from the pickup scene, and this was like, I avoided networking with guys in the pickup scene for the longest time because I thought it was really weird, right? Like I didn't want anybody to know that I was into this stuff, let alone actually like meeting up with other guys that were into this. But I finally did. I was actually on this forum and all these guys were like badgering me to come out, because I was giving all this advice, and I had it was very obvious that I had a decent amount of experience and knew what I was talking about. These guys were, when are you going to come out and show us, blah, blah, blah. And I was just getting all this bullshit talked to me. And I was like, all right, you know what? When are you guys meeting up? Like, let's do this, right? So I'll never forget, I met up with these guys, and my first approach of the night was like this really attractive Asian chick, and like it just hit like right off the bat, and like within a matter of minutes, like I was like parading her around the bar and dancing with her and like shoving her up against the wall and like making out with her all hardcore, and like I was putting on a big show, right? And it was really fun. It was a great experience. It felt really good. But I know this sounds weird, but like I felt bad about it. Like, even though I was authentically attracted to her, she was definitely attracted. It wasn't just some girl I wasn't into that I was just parading and showing off. But I just didn't like the idea of putting on a show. That's like I just don't like it. I like more authentic interactions. And there is a certain performance side of this where you have to demo for clients and you have to show them, this is how you approach, this is how you deal with rejection, this is how you disarm the obstacle, this is how you do this and that. So
Well, I mean, you spoke to this before, that the idea of like demoing is, humans do learn by observation, right? Observational learning is a big part of the way we learn. So I can completely understand if, on occasion you have to, quote unquote, put on a show. But I've heard Mystery, like, I don't know if he still talks about it, but like he used to talk about looking at as a performance and talking about how this is a performance art, and
yes, and it's not to contradict his thing, because I mean, it's a
It's like
performance.
you're saying that the way you approach it, you're talking about yourself individually, right? At this point.
So you're performing in the sense that you are demonstrating the best aspects of your personality, right? The goal, there's the chick that you're interested in. We've got to put on a certain amount of performance so that she has a chance to see who we are. So it's a performance, but it's an authentic one. It's not like we're putting on a facade and we're putting on a show of somebody that it's not really us, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's got to be a little bit magnified for the sake of teaching guys, right? Like if I have an interaction with a girl and it's really authentic and I'm just kind of doing things the way that I want to, the guy's going to be like, what's going on here? Like, they're not seeing examples of some of the teachings, right? But like if I meet a girl and I'm being more active about teasing her and flirting with her and being coy and like giving her playful back turns and like, giving her a playful shove or like taking her and moving her from the bar and stealing her spot and then me leaning up against the bar and being like, I stole your spot. What are you going to do about it? Like they need to see a little bit more of the performance side of it. They need to see more of the demoing. And Mystery is the absolute master at this. Mystery has a way of approaching and talking to women and groups of people and blowing it up larger than life and holding a magnified picture of what this is right in front of a student's face so you can see it like, wow, I see it, I get it now, right? He's so good.
So actually talk to me about that. So what do you think is his learning curve been like? Because like the way I learn about things, like for example, if I'm learning science or like some subject, I usually read the history, right? So obviously I don't know him history. So historically speaking, like I understand that he was a magician. So that could have been part of his training repertoire because he must have approached a lot of people just to kind of do shows and stuff like that. But has he ever been open about that? Like what's been his development? Because he wasn't always probably like this either, right?
Yeah, no, he was a little bit of a late bloomer. And he was, he was not socially savvy. And he is somebody who has immersed himself in this, right? So he did start as a magician and he got comfortable approaching people and showing them magic tricks and illusions and stuff. And then he started to apply some of those skills to approaching groups of people and approaching women. And he's read tons of books. He's written his own methods. He's gone out and taken his lumps. This is somebody who's really lived it. He loves this stuff. He's into this. And Baxter too. That's one of the cool things about being with these guys. Like these guys are as into this as I am. I've been into a lot of different things in my life. I've been into snowboarding and playing sports and doing this and that. But for whatever reason, when I found this stuff, I got into it. I got really into it. And I love talking about it. I love thinking about it. I love learning about it. I keep myself more on the action end of things now. Like there are a ton of coaches out there I've never even heard of. I don't really read a lot of books anymore or watch videos. I'm more a fan of getting out there and doing it and meeting people and socializing. But Mystery is somebody who's just the same. He's one of those weirdos that like, this is his thing, So, and he talks about other stuff, right? We talk about all sorts of things, but this is his life, man,
Right. Yeah. And he really owns up to it too. It's, it seems like he does. Awesome, man. That's great.
They're the real deal, man. Those guys travel from city to city, meeting people, meeting women, living pretty awesome lifestyles. It's not for everybody. It has its drawbacks. It has its downsides. It's exhausting, but it has its rewards too. It's been an adventure. Every time I'm with those guys, it's an adventure. We get an Airbnb for a couple of weeks in an amazing location and we fuel each other, and then we go out and we meet people and we have boot camp and it's a crazy experience. It's awesome. I love it.
It's awesome. So how do you balance that with your responsibilities? Like, are you based in a specific city right now, or are you moving a lot, or?
Yeah, no. So I do live in the Chicago suburbs, and Yeah, it's tough. That's another thing. Like we talked about, not necessarily wanting the limelight, right? Like some guys get into this and they're like, well, how do I get famous? How do I get well known? Like, this is going to sound a little bit cocky, but like, I've never viewed fame and being well known as something that's like that difficult to achieve. I think that if that's really what you want, if you really want to become famous, like there's a path to do it. There's a recipe. There's a recipe for everything out there, and there's a recipe for becoming famous. Um, Similarly to not knowing if I really want to step more into the limelight, there's something about this lifestyle that has its pros and cons. So like when I'm living kind of a normal everyday life and it's more calm and peaceful, I start to get itchy for adventure. I'm like, oh, I want to go on a boot camp. I want to go meet up with Mystery and Baxter. I want to go travel somewhere. I want adventures, right? But then when I'm in that, when I'm doing all that, I just want to return to like a peaceful, normal life. And like, you know what I mean? So, and they're the same way, they go through their phases of being out there and doing a lot of stuff. And then times where they're more to themselves, for the last couple of weeks, last couple of months, really, Mystery's been in Las Vegas and he's been having some fun. He's been doing some social stuff. He's living with somebody out there, but he's also just taking time for himself. So we do that, like I love reading books. I love watching documentaries. I love eating healthy and exercising. I like cooking my own food and, hanging out with my girlfriend and going for walks and playing with her.
You're not that weird after all, Erik.
Huh?
I said you're not that weird after all.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to experience all of life, like the people that just have a normal life, they work a 9-to-5 job and they've got their family and their kids and everything, and they just live a normal, like peaceful life. Like I like that. Like I would love that. There's nothing wrong with that, right? And then the people that live more abstract lives that are always on the go, that maybe don't settle down with somebody, they don't get married, and they just live a little bit more of a transient existence. Like I get that too. Like I kind of like a little bit of both, So
okay. All right. So you try to strike a balance between being the adventurer and being the peaceful hermit.
For me, that works. For me, I feel like I'm living life to the fullest when I'm balanced like that. There's a time for all of that. So.
Right. Awesome, man. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so one more time, could you just repeat where people can find you? Because that was kind of like, I don't know if that we got that or we didn't. The recording, my internet.
If we were frozen, yeah, no worries. We'll do it again, man. But yeah, coasttocoastdatingcoach.com is my website, and you can just fill out a contact form. You can find me on Facebook. Erik Lothbrok is my Facebook name, Lothbrok. I have that's really where the only place that I'm at right now is on Facebook or on my website. I've been debating whether I want to get my YouTube channel going again. I used to have a little YouTube channel, and I didn't really have a lot going there. I just set it up and launched a few videos out there. I don't know. I'm debating whether I want to up my social media presence right now, or if I'm content just kind of doing smaller coaching, right? My father was a carpenter and general contractor, and he always ran a small crew. It was just him and a couple guys. He never wanted to grow and expand too big. And I'm kind of cool with being that lesser known dating coach right now. We'll see though. But yeah, appreciate it. coasttocoastdatingcoach.com. And, if anybody wants to hit me up, it's 100% free, no pressure consultation. I take a very honest approach to this. Guys that really need to improve their dating lives, or guys that already have skills that want to take themselves to the next level. I work with guys that are beginner, intermediate, advanced. If they want to take coaching with Baxter or Mystery, I can certainly facilitate that as well. If they want to come on a boot camp with us. And whether it's a relationship or pickup or whatever a guy's looking to improve, I work with guys in a variety of settings. So. You there? Yeah, I can't hear you again.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Oh, there you are. There we go.
Okay, no, I was gonna say, like you mentioned, given the situation, online profiles, and how you help people with that. I think that is something that could, given the how everybody's on the internet right now, there's a huge opportunity right there. But like people just wouldn't automatically know how to properly set up their accounts. They would definitely need some guidance. Just
I
like you gave the example of the guy that did like 2,000 approaches and 1,000 instant messages and DMs, but didn't get anything out of it. So,
I helped that guy massively. That's an interesting story that maybe we can talk about another time. But yeah, the online dating is something, if I may say, I think that I'm very good at coaching guys in online dating. I've experimented myself with all sorts of different profiles, from having kind of a more bad boy, edgy, carefree profile to more lovey-dovey relationship, serious type profile. I've experimented with different pictures, different content and stuff. So I get really good results with my online dating, and so do my clients. And it's something that I don't talk about at all. And I've seen the other guys out there, and I've seen the advice that guys are giving on online dating. In my opinion, my online dating coaching is way better than what I've seen out there. In most cases, there are some
and
guys
a
giving.
lot of people are giving advice, but not necessarily good advice. And that's why, I think people would be well served by getting some guidance from someone like yourself.
Yeah, and there's some good advice out there, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of garbage out there. There are guys out there that are super famous and like experts in online dating, and I read their advice, I'm just like, and I don't even correct people. I don't even step in and say anything, because I don't know. I keep some of my advice on lockdown. Some of the advice, if you want it from me, you got to pay me. It's just, you got to
The
pay
dollars.
me.
Dollars. Yeah. No, definitely. And this is the kind of stuff that, it's extremely valuable. So if you're going to part with that information, why not loosen some change? I completely understand. Totally. All right, Erik Lothbrok, that was amazing, man. I appreciate that so much. That was awesome. Thank you so much for your time, your
Thank you,
energy.
Sheldon. Yeah, it takes two, man. You've been a great host, man. It takes two. So thank you as well.
Thank you, Erik.
All right, brother. All right.
All right, guys, how awesome was that? I mean, I enjoyed myself a lot. Just learning so much from Erik. I hope you did as well. If you'd like to reach out to him, you can reach him at coasttocoastdatingcoach.com. That's coasttocoastdatingcoach.com. All right, gentlemen. Au revoir, and until next time.